I didn't realize that the person I married was actually going to be my biggest nightmare.
So I know by now people have seen what's going on with this lady, what has happened, what she was talking about, what's happened to her kids. And I've seen videos like all day pretty much, and I've visited the internet. I've been trying to get as much information as I could possibly need for this. And I feel like I need to preface this by asking everyone what they want. What do you want to happen? Because we always take the same approach when things like this happen, because I'm not shocked. I don't know who she is, but I'm not shocked by stories I hear of men doing things because they've gone the lowest they possibly could go. I've heard of things like this happening anyway, and it's just like you get to a stage where you ask people, do you want people to escape these situations? Do you want people to leave these situations? Or do you not want that? Because if you say yes, you want people to leave, then we should work towards that. You should accept the fact that she actually had the gall and the audacity to leave when it was found out that the man she married was abusing their children together. And I just love how everyone's referring to those kids as her kids. We always see the mother as the default. Mother is the actual parent because she's the one who actually cares about the kids and actually takes care of them. We know that that's a fact. It just shows how little responsibility men are allowed to take for their own offspring. I've seen so many videos refer to the children as her children alone. And in this context, yeah, they should only be referred to as her children because she's the only one who is actually parenting these children. But I do want everyone to know that I can confirm that those two little girls that he was abusing were his biological children, because the way people were making it seem is that that was the stepfather, because when I did the math it didn't really work out. So she has two older sons, she has two older children who are both boys, and then she has two younger children and a new baby. I'm not sure the gender of the new baby, but she has two younger children who are girls who were abused by their father, which is the man who's her husband and hopefully soon ex-husband, because she only left him I think like a month and a bit ago. We can have so many conversations about this. People are saying this is why you should date broke men. How is that the conclusion that you're getting from this? This is why you shouldn't date rich men. That's not the point either. It's funny how people can't identify the fact that there multiple truths can exist at once, and there can also be a middle ground. Maybe you don't have to choose a rich man or a broke man. You can choose a good man. And it's not that you know beforehand that a man is good. He has to prove it to you. He has to show it to you. And in this case, the man did not show it to her. Now, people are saying they've been able to premeditate this happening and stuff. You will never be able to premeditate something like this happening. But when we find out it's happening, we're never sure. I want everyone to take a look at a video I found of this lady, Isis. Her name's Isis. And what she said not too long ago about the kind of dynamic that she's preaching about to other people. So have a look here.
One of the downsides of a man fully providing for you, if they have control, they're going to utilize it. So that's something to be aware of. If you don't want any of that, then marrying hypergamously is just not going to be for you, because they will want to keep an eye on things and make sure that, you know, you're not out entertaining some Dusty with on his dime. You know, they're going to monitor. All men would be like this if they could be, but Dusty's, you know, they can't. I'll be talking, baby. Can I see on the iPad in a minute? Okay. All right, thank you. So yeah, it's just kind of part of the life. But no, they're not. If you think that they're just going to be like, yeah, spend however much money, however, and go wherever you want, I'm not even going to be worried about it. They're not like that. That's not even man's nature to be like that. Not at all. The only time a man is like that is because he can't control you, because he's not providing for you. That's not to say control you, but it's more of a like, one, I think it's a protection thing, but two, it's they paying the cost to be a boss. And that's
Ain't nobody a boss. If a man wants to control you, it's not protection. That's an insecurity. There's no reason why anybody would want to control anyone unless you are insecure and you believe in the only way you can get people to do things for you is through fear. A man who cares about you would never want to do that to you. A person who cares about you would never want to do that to you. It's always funny how the best marriages, the happiest marriages, or the happiest relationships are the ones where both people or multiple people respect each other. It's funny how that works out. Now, that is the rambling of a woman who's accepted or lives with the fact that she's in a patriarchal dynamic. You see the same ramblings from conservative women and women who vote for conservatives and, you know, patriarchy princesses, trad wives. You see it all the time with them. They say the exact same things. It's like, oh, men need to allow us to rest in our femininity. Women, we need to stop going to work and be in the kitchen. You know, you have to allow a man to be a man and take care of you and tell you what to do and blah, blah, blah. If he doesn't tell me what to do, I don't want him, blah, blah, blah. Any woman who says that, right, has the same kind of mentality. And we can always see that life always hands them a situation that will wake them up. I'm not saying it has to get to a point like this, because this is absolutely vile. Things like this, they seem incomprehensible. to a lot of people, but not to women, because most of us, this has actually happened to us as children, as young people. This has probably happened to a lot of us, and to people in general. We severely underestimate how many children or how many people were victims of CSA as children, obviously. Now, it is absolutely wrong to go around blaming people, telling them that they asked for this, because I don't feel like that's the approach we should be taking. She is accepting accountability for the fact that she trusted the wrong person, but she's actually admitted that he RAPE'd her, like, very early into their relationship, and then they got married. I'm pretty sure that happened before they got married. They got married, like, after a week. Like, I think she proposed to him or something. She bought him a ring because he said he's not living with her unless she marries him. And then they went on to have the kids together. And people are saying, she should take the boys to be tested too. I'm not sure how old the sons are. But people are also taking the approach that, boys are the silent victims of CSA and stuff like that. That's not what this video is going to be about. But I do want to say that identifying the fact that girls are preyed on a lot more, and it's more acceptable to prey on girls, is not a problem to suggest. It's a fact. We don't live in a world where people believe girls. We call girls fast for being preyed on. Every time a woman comes out and says a man did something to me, everyone's just like, you liar. Why would you lie on this precious man that we don't even know? Men get away with everything. We never, ever, ever, I made a video talking about it. We never ever stay on the topic that a man did something wrong. Why would you turn around and start abusing people? Why would you turn around and start abusing your own daughters? Why would you do that unless you're an abuser? Why are you madder at the woman who married him and chose to leave once she found out what was going on than the person who decided to be sexually assaulting his own kids? Why are we always trying to take stabs at women, take stabs at girls? Oh, you guys get all the attention. Then open your mouths and fight. Open your mouths and fight then. She chose to leave. She actually got her children out of situation. You have mothers out there who would rather live on the street with their kids than have them live in a house with somebody who is going to victimize them. And you're not happy? You're not satisfied with that? I know she chose to stay with him after he assaulted her, but you don't know the mind of victims a lot of the time, especially when they're victims of rape. You don't know what that does to your mind. It literally sends your mind into a frenzy. You have no idea. And you should be patting yourself on the back. You should have been on your knees, begging and thanking your lucky stars that things like this never happened to you, that you had the opportunity to leave or escape these things, because there's so many people who cannot escape these things. Every single day, we as women, we as girls, we talk about these things happening to us, and everyone's like, nobody want to even touch you guys, blah blah blah. You're talking about attractive. What's attractiveness got to do with being 2 and 4? What's attractive about a 2-year-old? What's attractive about a 4-year-old? I've said it before that men, they want their daughters to look like women they're attracted to, and a lot of men, they have families just so they can have people to hurt with impunity. A lot of men are very gross towards their own kids, and that's not your fault at all. I think victims hold a lot of shame for the things that the abusers chose to do to them. Please do not marry a guy after 1 week. Do not marry a guy within 1 week. You need to do background check. And even if you don't do a background check, a man will always admit, he will always reveal how he thinks. Don't be desperate. Love yourself just that little bit more, and love your kids the most. If you don't have kids, put yourself first. Ask yourself if you like the treatment you've been given, and then choose what you do actually like. Because God knows these men will leave at the slightest inconvenience. Trust me, even when nobody did anything to them, they'll start complaining. And things don't go their way. Trust me, everybody will pay for it. And I saw a picture of the guy she married, like, ooh, ladies, please. Don't get with men who look like a weapon fashioned against your life. It may sound shallow, but honestly, please. A lot of women will be like, oh, looks on everything. I just love him because of his personality. Babe, what personality? We have to stop lying to ourselves, honestly. You deserve better. I hope she manages to stay away from that guy. Like, I hope she manages to keep building a good life for her and her kids. Like, honestly, nobody deserves that. But her old videos will definitely come back to, like, bite some people, because obviously we regret a lot of the things we say, and that's fine. It's a part of life. When you're in it, you don't know what you're thinking, I guess, until you get out. Or, like, people are victims of abuse. They don't know what they're parroting until they get out and they're looking at videos of themselves. They're like, ugh. It goes like that for a lot of us, and it doesn't even have to be about abuse. But what I want people to know is that don't put anything past these guys. They will literally abuse their own people. They'll abuse their own kids. They'll abuse their own wives and girlfriends, their own mothers. Look, a lot of men will see the worst thing ever and they'll be like, how can I top that? Not how can I make things better? Once you internalize that, everything they do will make sense to you. It broke my heart when I watched that clip where she said, or when she asked her daughter, who did this to you? And she said, Daddy. They want to turn around and blame her for leaving. She actually left though. Is that not a million times better than the women who do stay and blame their kids for what's happening to them? I think most of us have had that happen to us, and that's the reason why we project onto other people when they manage to put their kids first. Spoke about it before. A lot of people are not kind to women who actually get the courage to leave and actually report their abusers. So how do you expect women to want to leave? Maybe you just need to admit you don't care about them. Women deserve safety. So I made a post earlier on my backup channel, and that context will be helpful towards this video. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Now, if you don't know who Conor McGregor is, it really doesn't matter. Good for you, and it's not imperative. But he is an MMA fighter. Men of all backgrounds, men of all races, of all occupations can and do these things. But if you read the case and the way this woman, Nikita Han, described what happened, which is he assaulted her, according to her, even though I can't mention everything that happened in the case, but it is available to read online if you want to read any articles about specific things that happened. But she did say that he put her in a headlock. I saw a post on Twitter earlier as well, talking about when we talk about assault online, why we don't use the actual words. Now, there have been videos where I have mentioned the actual words, like I could say rape and it wouldn't be taken down, but there have been videos where my videos have been taken down when I did say that word. So let's see what will happen to this video. The reason why we have to censor a lot of the things we say is because our videos will be taken down. If you don't know, my page had been taken down. I'm just very lucky that I got it back. It was taken down. I've had quite a few videos taken down, and it didn't really matter what I was talking about. My page and among other women's pages are just being targeted. But the difference between me, the difference between us and the people who keep criticizing what we say is that we're actually talking about these issues. We're actually talking about these cases. We're actually bringing awareness to what's going on. You know, the people who come for the way we talk, that we use words like rape and say PDF file instead. Do you know how they're similar to like the men who will say, oh, because you guys didn't say not all men, it means we're not going to support women and we're going to vote against your interests and we're going to keep assaulting you guys because you're not making all of us feel good about ourselves. You're not singling out me, Kevin. My name's Kevin and I don't assault any women. People who criticize the words we use are the same exact people as those men who say not all men. And do you know the conclusion? The conclusion is neither of those groups, neither of those camps are bringing awareness. Neither of those camps are advocating for victims. In the post I saw earlier, nobody in that thread was talking about a single case of assault. But guess who is talking about it? We are. I can post these screenshots and my video might be taken down. So who's going to learn anything unless they go and find something online themselves? Some people will admit that they don't know about these things until they see people's videos about it. So in what universe are you going to police how we say it rather than what we're saying? It's because you don't care, and it's because you don't want to know, and it's because you'd rather police the way women talk about things than police men who do these things to women. People are coming for Nikita Han's appearance, whether she's skinny or not, whether they think she's attractive or not. And I've mentioned it before, men will go for women that are deemed attractive by society because they know if she talks about it, people will be like, oh, you should take it as a compliment. Meanwhile, men are allowed to look like anything. They're allowed to look like they convinced God to allow them to stay on the planet. And then they go for women who society doesn't deem attractive. And then if she comes out, people will be like, oh, there's no way he would do that to you. And that's how we partner attraction with assault. That's how men can get away with doing anything, because no matter what happens, no matter how we feel about it, we will never ever ever place blame and keep the blame on the man. We will always find a roundabout way to blame the woman. And that's what they're doing, even though she didn't initially want to go to court to get money out of him. And that is not any reason why victims go to court. In fact, 9 out of 10 times the victims don't actually want to go to court. There will be times where these violent men will actually admit that they forcefully penetrated, they forcefully entered these women, and they will admit, like a certain footballer out there, that she said no. She didn't want it, but I still continued because that's what I wanted to do. And you'll turn around and tell women that there's a falling birth rate. Why would you want to bring a kid into this world who will either be influenced by other people to act like this or to become a victim of this because they know victims do not get justice? It's funny to me that men nobody even looks at or wants around or even wants on the planet will be talking about how a woman looks unattractive or attractive to them. Attraction is everything to men, and they've made it that way for themselves. That's why they can't stand the fact that they think they're attractive and then women don't give them the behavior they think are deemed for attractive men, because they refuse to admit and refuse to acknowledge and refuse to listen to us when we say attraction isn't everything. Just because men like women doesn't mean women like men. Just because men want to harm women doesn't mean women want them to harm us. Just because men want to have sex with women no matter what doesn't mean women want to have sex with men or want men to have sex with them no matter what. Saying that is apparently something that's very confusing to people and very outlandish. And then they'll turn around and they will be trying to police how we talk about these things. There's been times in your life that you've probably been a victim to something. A lot of us have been victims of things. And there was probably somebody you really trusted that told you, hey, you're being dramatic. This happened to me and I got over it. If it was me, I would get over it. And it's just lucky that this woman had a supportive family or has a supportive family around her. But you know who also has a supportive family around him? Conor McGregor. His family is doubling down for him. The women in his family doubling down. This happened in 2018. And this is exactly what we're talking about. So 2018 was 6 years ago. It was almost 7 years ago. But it's 6 years ago because it happened in December of 2018. So it just shows that this is even one of the quickest times a victim will seek out justice or justice will happen for a victim. There are people who have been assaulted and they don't even say anything until decades later. I'm not saying that's the way the world wants it to be. They just want you to never say it. And if it's going to take you 20 years, that's better than 2 days. And they'll come out and say, why didn't you say anything sooner? You say something. You could say it 2 minutes after it happens and everyone will be like, you're just lying. You're just being hysterical. It was just a date gone wrong. We don't even really have to talk about the fact that he was in a relationship with someone during this time. This someone has 4 kids with him. I know for a fact it's the fact that we have to deem men who do things like this as bad people, and that's like the worst possible thing you can do in this world. On planet Earth, the worst possible thing we can do is say a bad man exists. You can't even go as far as saying he does bad things. People like to say there's a grey area when it comes to assault. When a woman says no, apparently that's the start of a negotiation. It does not matter how many drugs she was on, how drunk she may have been. She didn't deserve this. Nobody deserves it. It doesn't matter how inebriated they are. It's funny how when somebody's on drugs or when they're drunk, for men it's an excuse as to why they acted that way. For women it's a punishment. If you didn't want to be assaulted, you shouldn't have drunk anything. You're admitting that she was assaulted, but we have to forget about that because she was inebriated. I don't want to go into too much detail, but they had to retrieve something from up her. Like I said, go and read the case because I don't know how much I can post on here without the video being shadow banned or something, or the audio being taken away. But going back to my video that I made earlier on my back up page, happens when we're of this idea that kinks, for instance, do exist or do not exist in a vacuum. We are of this idea that women are always up for penetration because that's what it is. We're always up for whatever men want sexually. You know, a woman kissing you is free way to graduate it into everything else, even though she didn't explicitly say that's what she wanted to do. You kissed him, you were drinking with him, you went to a hotel room with him, so that means you were up for anything he wanted. Meanwhile, we fail to admit and identify the fact that we are talking about what he wants. What about what she wants? In this world, we make up what women want. Meanwhile, men can be whatever they want to be and do whatever they want to do on a whim. That's why we can't say we know what men want, because they get to decide what they want at any moment, like a human being. When you have this idea that women are supposed to act a certain way, when they don't, it's easy to rescind humanity. This is why people need to go to therapy rather than telling the internet that you would enjoy it if a man did something like this to you. Because if this actually happens to you, you would not be saying that. Meanwhile, the whole world is turning against her and telling her she wasn't attractive enough to be assaulted. I hope she finds peace. There are many reasons why the dream woman does not exist. Number one, she's unattainable, and that's by design. She's unattainable because these logicals know for a fact that they don't deserve her, and it's by design that women are always scrambling to try and be her. The logicals know for a fact how society places so much on women's shoulders. They know just how much of a chokehold the beauty standards have us in, whether or not these are ones perpetuated by women or started by men. At this point, we know what the beauty standards are and we know how harmful that they can be. We don't want to have a conversation that a lot of men started this, like for instance with makeup. Makeup was not created for women. In fact, men were largely the ones who wore makeup. But then suddenly, the beauty industry is marketed towards women because it's another tool of control. I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't wear makeup or you don't have to do this and don't have to do that, but just know that these choices don't exist in a vacuum. The perfect woman is just the perfect way for men to control women or to attempt to control women. As long as they can keep in this endless cycle of trying to compete with a woman who doesn't exist, it'll be far easier, way easier, and too easy to always hold their opinion in high regard. It's just a very easy way for them to be able to be on your mind 24/7, even long after you've gotten rid of them. If you break up with him or he breaks up with you or you break up with each other, you'll still remember these things that your exes said to you 10,000 years ago. You'll be always trying to fight with a woman who does not exist. When we talk about the perfect woman and we ask men to give an example of what the perfect woman would be like, he goes one of two ways, or one of three ways actually. He names a celebrity, he describes a slave, or he describes you. You can pick which one you want him to say. This goes for women in relationships, or whatever you define a relationship as. Whichever man you're talking to, or if you're single, it really doesn't matter. We all have these things said to us. We know exactly what it is, and we know what these men are about when they say these things. For instance, you can see in this picture, this man is on a date with possibly his girlfriend, his wife, a woman he agreed to be on a date with, and then he's looking at another woman. Now, I recently, a few months ago, started watching Sex and the City, and there was an episode where Carrie and Big were out. Well, they always go out, and then Carrie noticed that Big likes to stare at women, honestly, ogle women, stare at them as if he's never seen a woman before in his life. He likes to stare at them, and she's just like, why do you like doing that? I find it disrespectful. And then she wonders if she's just being too sensitive. If you have a problem with it, you're not too sensitive. You just don't need to be with that person. Honestly, I think breaking up is one of the hardest things you should ask a male-centered woman to do. If you say, oh, how about you just don't date for a while, they get very upset. The perfect woman doesn't just have the perfect boobs or the perfect cup size. She cooks and cleans, she lets him get away with everything. She's just the perfect Barbie doll, stands there and just nods and says how high when he says jump. She doesn't exist, she's not real, because even the most quote-unquote perfect woman, according to these logical standards, she falls short when he thinks she should. She falls short because she's a human being. And I'm not even saying that she does anything wrong. I'm not talking in terms of doing something wrong. She's a human being, and therefore, when she gets sick, she will not be able to do this. She will not be able to give 100% because human beings need to recuperate after they get ill. She'll get fed up of him treating her like a maid, because that's what human beings do. They don't want to be treated like maids by other human beings. You have the same ability as me to do these things, therefore you should do it, especially when I can't do it, even if I agree that it's my job to do it. If a man loves you, he wouldn't expect you to do these things if you're ill, if you're incapacitated, if you're pregnant, or in any other state where it's harder for you to do the things that you say you could do, or do the things that take a lot of energy. It's just a way for men to preserve energy when they talk about the dream woman. It just gives them an excuse not to be good enough or worthy of you. It gives them an excuse to always be ragging on you and dogging on you and criticizing you and picking at you and stabbing at you until you have nothing left, until there's absolutely nothing left of you and the person you used to be and the person you said you wanted to be, because you've turned into the person he told you to be. And that leads me to a last point. These men are not worthy of the dream woman. Are they the dream man? No. Do you know why? They don't believe they have to be a dream man to anybody. A lot of men, I say solid 90% of them on the planet, believe they're that girl. They believe they're that girl. They think they're the best thing since sliced bread. Even the guy that invented sliced bread is not as good as them. If you look into the minds, and we don't even have to look into them because they keep yapping, they keep talking. You know one thing a man's gonna do? He's gonna talk. He's gonna open his mouth and say his opinion, even though nobody asked him to. They're gonna talk, and he will tell you for a fact that he's thinking this. He will tell you what he's thinking. A lot of men, they write 5-mark essays on Twitter alone, without being asked, just about how they deem women stupid. Or, women, they can't drive. Statistics say women can't drive. If you ask an average man, he will tell you a woman can't drive, and they treat it as fact. And then they wonder why women don't want to have babies with men, let alone date men. It's a mystery, isn't it? They know they're not worthy. They know they're not a woman's dream man. They know they're not your dream man. And that's why I want to flip it on you, especially if you're a woman who is listening and you date men, because that's a detriment to your life. The very fact that you're still open to dating them shows that you are a risk taker. It's giving daredevil go and do what you want, but you need to be having quality relationships, and that starts with seeing your worth as well, because men will turn around, they'll have absolutely nothing. They'll probably be living at home with their parents, they'll be mooching off everybody, they'll be taking advantage of everybody, and they'll have like 15 kids, and they'll ask you what you bring to the table. Not only are you the table, you bought the table, you put everything on the table, and you want to bare your soul to these guys who have not even gotten the chance to know you. They have the opportunity to date you, and you agree to go on a date with them, and they're asking you what you bring to the table. If they knew you and they knew how much value you hold, if they gotten to know you and your personality, they would know what you bring to the table. The very fact that they ask you that, especially before getting to know you, is because they just want to rag you. They want to rattle you, they want to neg you, they want to knock you down a peg, they want you to feel inferior, so you accept absolutely anything from them. They know they're not anybody's dream man, so that's why they talk about the dream woman, to take the heat and the attention off of them. Because if we're always talking about women, as I've said before, we never have to talk about men, because if we're always talking about women, we never have to talk about men. And when we're always talking about women, we never have to talk about men, because the heat will always be on women, the attention will always be on women. They always project onto us and say that we demand attention. They live their lives for attention, especially from other men. And that's another reason why the dream woman exists, is because their dream woman is a man. And I'm not talking in a sense of homosexuality. Mostly everything they do is to impress other men. They look at what other men have and they're like, I need to be like that guy, I need to get like him. That's why they call each other big bro, even though the guy they're talking about might be younger than them. It doesn't matter, as long as this younger guy has access to hurt women, he wants that access as well. And he treats himself and he pities himself as an inferior, lackluster man if he doesn't have the opportunity and the access to harm women and knock them down a peg. That's why you see these guys lamenting about going on dates with women but ruining the dates, because the women don't stay around and they don't stick around after they've ruined the date. Lots of men get online and talk about, oh, I went on this date with this chick and I told her that she stank and her hair sucks and she left and she didn't message me back. In fact, she blocked me. What do you expect her to do? That's what you'll probably be asking these men. What he expected her to do is stick around. Their perfect woman, their dream woman, is a woman who can take absolutely any type of punch he can throw out. The perfect woman doesn't exist because there's no woman alive that will be managing to take all the punches he can give without saying something. They want complete and utter silence, control, and obedience. Do you know what you're going to get that from? And that's even pushing it. You'll get that from a dog, probably. Even then, dogs do love you unconditionally unless you've been abusing them. They will always be happy to see you. They will always be lapping up everything you give them. They'll be waiting at the door for you to come home from work. They'll love you. They'll give you little kisses. They'll lick your face. They'll go and fetch that ball for the 1000th time. They'll bark at any danger for you. That's what they want from you as a woman. They want you to be an attack dog for them. That's why they enjoy it and they sit back and clap their little hands and giggle up a storm with each other when they see women fighting over them and fighting over something these logicals started. They love starting something and watching you try and finish it, especially when it's against another woman. So don't fall into the trap believing that there's a dream woman. If a guy, your ex or your current partner says that to you, they say, oh, I would just like it if you did this, then tell him to go and date someone or be with someone who does that. Because if he knew for a fact you don't do that, why is he with you? Sometimes a man's soulmate isn't even another man. Sometimes it's himself. A lot of men love themselves a lot, and that's the one thing you should probably take from them. Not to be as selfish as they are unself-serving, but to be somebody who uses their brain enough to be crafty enough to ensure you avoid danger by falling into a trap of believing their word. That's why they don't believe us, because they don't care. Devalue and decenter what they have to think and say. Tell them how much you don't care. Act indifferent, because God knows they don't have a problem doing that. So I've turned another year older, and I just want to share a few things that I've learned, not only this year, but over the past few years. This year's been a bit different for me. Not only did I start this page this year, I've been having a lot more thoughts that I think I've been having my entire life, to be honest. I think I've been using my brain a lot more this year. But what I'm seeing, and I'm pretty sure I've discussed this with quite a few people, is that there's a lot of disillusion around relationships and being single and self-actualizing. It's very easy to lose yourself, not just in a relationship, but when you're not in a relationship. And one of the things I try and get across is that we shouldn't see ourselves in like an unfinished state when you aren't in a relationship, because you were you before you were in a relationship. You hear a lot of people saying, oh, that's my other half, which is quite toxic to yourself, not in like a particularly negative way. I know it's said in a positive manner, but losing yourself is very easy, because if you break up, if the relationship ends, do you lose half of yourself? One thing I learned, because I feel like a lot of people, specifically women, we get very like emotional around our birthdays and things to do around us. Like for me, for instance, I don't mind being celebrated, but receiving compliments is something that's quite difficult for me. I find it quite hard to receive compliments, not particularly because I don't think I deserve them, but whenever women get complimented, it always comes at a price. It always comes with a set of rules or a set of conditions people don't make us privy to at the beginning. For instance, with me, I've been labelled strong and independent a lot of my life. Do you think I actually wanted to be that way? Not really. That's why I find it hard to accept help when I feel like I know it already, or I know what I'm doing. Because to me, it feels as though you think I'm stupid if you think I can't do this thing that I've been doing for years on my own by myself. So this year, I've tried to become better at accepting compliments, and I've tried to become better by also not trying to return the favour and just accept it as what it is. So I actually saw this post on Reddit, which I feel fits quite perfectly in what I'm trying to say, because I've discussed with people around, like, about my friends and like the people around me, because I'd say the majority of the people I know are in relationships. And being in a relationship is not bad at all. Some of them don't complain, but I'd say most of them do. I'm not even going to say that that's the reason why I don't want to be in a relationship or I'm not looking for one. But I don't see a relationship as a band-aid. I don't see it as a fix for anything else that's going on in my life. But a lot of people seem that they can't be alone. So in the woman subreddit, this lady says, how do you cope with loneliness as a single woman? Broke up with my boyfriend who I was dating for 1.5 years and was actually going to marry next year. This is the first time in years where I'm single. I don't have anyone to talk to. The thing is, I don't feel like talking to anyone new. I'm not necessarily enjoying the loneliness, but I'm at peace, especially after the ugly breakup with my ex. Woke up from a nap and my phone was dry as F. Haven't woken up to a dry phone in years. And yes, I do have friends and they're all busy with their lives and spouses. I want to take this time to explore myself more and get to know myself. I want to take this time to explore myself more and get to know myself better. I want to enjoy this journey, but it's the loneliness that I don't like. How do you cope with it? When you pour yourself or put yourself into a relationship and you neglect yourself, this is a recipe for disaster. Being single isn't being lonely. It's not being alone, really. It's more being alone than being lonely. But we see both as one and the same, and we see both as equally detrimental and the worst possible thing you can be, especially as a woman. Not only were human beings born alone, you die alone. Yeah, you might die with people surrounding you, but you go by yourself. You go by yourself, so saying that women are going to die lonely with their cats shouldn't be something that makes us upset. The thing about journeys is that so many different things can happen. If you've read the Odyssey by Homer, Odysseus goes through so many things, goes to so many places over the span of like 10 years. I think it's like 10 to 20 years. And he's just trying to get home. Sometimes like the more chaotic route is the way to go, because it gives you a lease for life. I think we lose that lease for life a lot when we're in relationships. I've talked to people and I'm friends with people who were in relationships, and then when they were out of it, they felt like a shell of themselves, and you could see it on their faces. And that's what happens because women, on average, we put like 10 times more effort and resources into a relationship, and that's why a lot of women are hesitant to leave in the first place. She didn't really specify why they broke up, but sometimes you just know when it's time to move on. It doesn't have to be a malicious thing, it really doesn't. The problem with society is telling women that you can't date because you'll be a slut, and then when you date or when you don't date, we're going to be ragging on you to date, and then when you date, you can't leave. When you leave, you're a slut. When you leave, you're not a real one. If you stay, you're a stupid, you're an idiot, and you shouldn't have stayed. So they facilitate environments where you can't leave. They pressure you to stay, and this is why we lose ourselves, because you're not allowed to be yourself when you're in a relationship or when you're out of it. She even says she's at peace. For me personally, I'm at peace every single day that I put myself first. And it doesn't mean you have to put people last. People really don't understand there's nuance to a lot of things. With getting older, it's getting to the point where you need to start actualizing your dreams, and you need to actually start manifesting your dreams and taking things day by day. Because I try and tell my sister, for instance, that you don't have to be the person you want to be today. Like, it's literally the fun part, getting there. Because once you get there, you're like, I miss the push and pull, I miss the journey, I miss the challenges that came along during the years to get me to be who I wanted to be. I miss the fun of it. And that's why you have to live every day as if your dreams are running away from you. If you don't do this, I feel like it's really, really easy for us to drown in a pool of our own insecurities, and therefore we don't even try and swim out of it. And therefore we lose ourselves and we lose our dreams. So for the next year, my next year, one thing I want to ask of people is to not only put yourself first, especially if you're a woman, but to know that every day is a gift as well. We need to stop looking at other people's relationships and other people's lives and wanting to be like them. Because we as human beings, we don't take inspiration at face value. We never leave it where it is. We always want to try and embody what other people have, rather than just take it as mere inspiration. This year, I just need people to write down what they're grateful for, because that's what I'm going to be doing. Because more time we focus on what we're grateful for, the other things seem very minute. They don't seem as important as the things you already have. And for us as women, we don't always have a lot. So we need to start taking things for ourselves. Be a little more selfish, or a lot more selfish. Realize your worth. And don't neglect to tell people that either. Don't forget to like and follow. Everyone have a look at this. So people really don't understand that the life of a woman, the life of a girl, is vastly different to the rest of society. We can apply quite a few of this to other people, other genders. We always try and conflate the female existence with men. And this is cisgender straight men, because everything is centered around them in society. So YouTube correctly recommended me this wonderful little animation, and I read a lot of the comments, but they always seem to never discuss the right things. Of course, a lot of people like to treat animation like this as blasé. They don't want to talk about the female experience or women and girls experiencing things and hardships, because it means that we all have to admit that we participate in this. They're even making jokes about how long it took her to get through this side wall. How do babies get made? You bump into a man on the road, making jokes, when we should be having serious discussions about these. This was made by a woman, and this proves that things made by women for women, centered around women, can be enjoyed by all people. People just don't want to give women chances. So you see in the first slide, the little girl, she's happy-go-lucky. Her mum sends her on her way. That's how the animation starts. Sends her to school probably, and she's walking down the street, not a care in the world, because that's how it is for most kids. The problem comes with socialization. We socialize girls to be more worried, and this is what happens when girls get older. You start to develop, and this could start from the ages of maybe even 7 to being a teenager. The thing is, we don't allow girls a safe transition from that period of being a happy-go-lucky child to a girl whose body is developing. We all have experiences with being told we have to cover up, and then our body's disgusting and we have to do this and do that. Little girls get their periods and everyone starts making fun of them and saying we smell like fish and whatnot. How does that help things? And you wonder why girls grow into women who don't want to date, because you're telling girls their bodies are disgusting. Men are online, boys are online calling women's vaginas open wounds, and you want us to give birth. You want us to let you into those vaginas so you can perform masturbation on us. It doesn't work like that. I'm sorry. That's why we need to challenge the way people speak to us. We have to make it known that we're not okay with this. Never be afraid to make it known that you're not okay with it. You start to feel self-conscious. You start to smell. When you go to puberty, kids, they start to smell. That's why gifting kids deodorants and talking to them in a kind way helps, because shouting at them that they smell and then they look ridiculous and making fun of them is not the way to go, because then you end up with kids like this. And people think that this is an experience unique to boys, but it's not. Like, I had a moody phase. I'm still probably in that moody phase, but I had that moody phase when I was going through puberty, because not only are people always constantly hyper analyzing your body, not only are they making you feel bad about it, you're feeling bad anyway. You want to cover up, you don't know what's happening to your body, because the thing is, we did get taught about what happens to our bodies as we get older, but it wasn't really taught in a way or manifested in a way or like validated in a way that made us feel good about ourselves, especially the girl. And what you learn in school sometimes doesn't matter because of the way you're raised, your culture, your community, your family, and the way they talk to you. It didn't matter that we learned about periods. I still had a bad experience when I first got my period. Maybe I'll talk about that one day, but I'm not particularly ready to express that or share that. But we all have those experiences of when we started our periods and we thought we were dying. Boys are always making fun of us. They're always like pinging our bras and trying to lift up our skirts at school to try and see our underwear, make fun of us, make us feel self-conscious and bad about ourselves. And then we turn around and say this only happens to boys. This is only something boys go through. And that is a lie. It's only that boys are allowed to get away with things. Boys are allowed to go through these things and then work through, quote unquote, work through those experiences by projecting and manifesting violence on our body. They're allowed to go through puberty and go through these trying times and quote unquote growing pain by inflicting pain on their female classmates. So now the girl, she grows up into a woman, you know, she has a little dance, she's feeling herself a bit. And if something happens that happens to most of us as women, when you're feeling yourself, you're dancing around, you have your nice job, you're looking good, you're feeling good for the first time in your life, your body is starting to make sense to you. And then suddenly you're made to feel self-conscious all over again. In the video, the girl, the woman, she's getting whistled at and she's being ogled. If you haven't gotten it into your head yet, women don't like to be ogled, not even by the guys that they're with. You like to be respected. Of course, there are relationships, there exists that, yeah, you're having sex and you're looking at each other in a sexual manner, but it doesn't mean women randomly on the street want you to look at them like that or want to be looked at like that. A lot of women will be like, oh, I don't mind guys looking at me, and then years later you're like, oh, actually I did mind. It's not to make women feel bad about themselves. You can be looked at. If you like to be looked at, that's completely fine, but there's days that you're going to be having hard days. Like a woman said online, she was crying because I think her either uncle, grandfather, some man in her family died. She was crying like on a bench, and then a man came over to her and asked for her number. Can you see? So this woman, she gets a job and then she bumps into this guy, and then obviously these two, they get together. I just want to say that watching this as a woman would be completely different to watching it as a man. They're going to be watching it as, oh, this is a nice animation, this is funny, ha ha ha, she gets pregnant, ha ha ha. But as a woman, you're just like, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen. I rolled my eyes so hard when I watched this part. Seeing your life flash before your eyes, this is something that most women go through. So talking about a falling birth rate is ridiculous. It's actually absolutely hilarious to me. It makes me want to giggle. It makes me want to giggle up a storm and die laughing. When people talk about a birth rate, women will literally be in the height of their career and they'll just literally dash that all to hell just for you to have a baby with them, because they feel that's the only way their life can be complete. They're going to get judged so hard if they remain unmarried and childless. That's the way we see it. It sounds like a curse. It sounds like an ailment. They treat it like a black spot, like a scarlet letter. So they meet. And this, for me, people watching it, I was like, it's so cute. This is just what happens. Women get married and have kids. You know, that's just the next step in life. For me, I was like, this is a setback. This is a roadblock. This man is going to make her quit her job and she's going to have to stay home and look after the baby by herself. And lo and behold, what happens? Look at her. Tired, haggard, rugged, ragged. Look at the baby wailing away in a stroller, crying up a storm. And then she's just there, absolutely positively discombobulated and disheveled. I'm not going to say children ruin your life. I'm not going to be that harsh, but we severely underestimate how hard it is to take care of a kid. All for you not to be appreciated. Look at that boy on his Game Boy or something, and his little device, and she's just there walking and she's looking at her body. She's just like, what's going on in here? Where has my life gone? I've put on some weight. And we are very mean to older women, very mean to women through the ages of 40 to elderly years. We're very mean and we're like, oh, what's the purpose of you? Meanwhile, these women are there keeping the family together. They're there getting you presents that you actually want because they have time to listen to you. Despite how little time their husbands give them, they have their time and they make the time to listen to you and be there for you. When your grandmother died, I'm pretty sure most of you in the family don't even speak to each other anymore. So she wears some outfits like probably a little bit showing skin, and people don't like women who are older showing skin. They don't like women who are older thinking they're all that. She tries it. She's like, oh, maybe if I dress nicer or if I dress good, I'll feel good. And this doesn't have to be good for you. Like, I don't particularly like showing a lot of skin, but I can. It just depends if I feel like I look good in the outfit. In the video, she tried to get into fitness. We try to make these little changes to our bodies as we get older because we feel like it will do something. Do what feels good for you, because sometimes when we get into it, not only can we lose energy, we get tired, we're not as young as we used to be. We don't have the time. Like, let's imagine like when she got into jogging like she did here, her husband probably calls her on the phone. It's like, hey, look, can you come and look after the kid? Like, the kid is asking me for things. She probably has to go grocery shopping and she has to go and buy the food that her husband likes. Even women who don't have jobs, housewife is around the clock maid, and you have to be there romantically, emotionally for your husband too. This was one of the sweetest parts of the video. This animation like completely and utterly encompasses the kind of life they want you to have, but they don't identify or acknowledge the fact that this is one big body horror. Your entire life is just one big body horror, and we're not even allowed to sit down and discuss that. They're trying to take away our time by making it so hard for us to talk to each other about these things. It's not fun being a girl. It's not fun being a woman when you're going through all these things and people are telling you from left to right, up and down, that your bodies are disgusting. Meanwhile, they're telling you that, oh, you guys possibly can't have no kids, otherwise the world is going to end. But then they're telling us that all the things that we do is unnecessary. Meanwhile, they're not getting up and doing it. We have to take the responsibility of taking the next generation of girls and women with us, telling them that, yeah, these things aren't good, but I'm going to allow you to make these mistakes, but I'll be there to catch you when you fall. That's only if you want to do that, because it is annoying, and I will admit it's annoying when women and girls do not listen to women and girls who've been there and are only just trying to warn you. The world is harsh enough on us without us being harsh to each other. This is one of the most beautiful parts of being a woman. Thanks everyone for the birthday messages too. You guys are amazing.